Welcome back to the Health Marketing Collective, where strong leadership meets marketing excellence. I'm your host, Sara Payne, and I'm bringing you fascinating conversations with some of the industry's top marketing minds. Today, we're talking about something that doesn't get enough credit in modern marketing: the power of saying no. With me is Gino Giovannelli, a digital marketing strategist, educator, and founder of Miles Interactive. Gino has helped brands like Caribou Coffee, Lifetime Fitness, and even the Super Bowl host committee use digital to drive real-world impact. He's also a professor at the University of St. Thomas and hosts the podcast In the Key of D, where he explores the intersection of business and digital transformation. Today, we're going to talk about smarter channel strategy, the power of focus, and how saying no might be the most strategic move a marketing leader can make. Gino, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thrilled to have you here. I wanted to start off with something you said in our prep conversation that really stuck with me. And that's that this conversation is about essentialism, about doing fewer things better. So tell me more, Gino, about your philosophy on that.
Right. Well, I think, Sarah, my whole career, it's always been about doing more, working harder, grinding harder, doing more things, everything that's possible. And I finally found a book by Greg McEwen called Essentialism that basically gave us the permission to say no, because no gets such a bad rap in this world. If you ever had a boss that's asked you to do something, you can't really say no. You don't feel right saying no, or even just as a human being. I mean, in our DNA, our natural wiring is if somebody asks you to help them, you're going to say yes. And Greg does a really good job of giving, um, uh, saying no, kind of a, it makes it all make sense, if you will, because it's actually more responsible to say no to certain things so that you can say yes to others. In fact, his quote is say no so that you can say hell yeah to the things that matter. And I've
Love
never
that.
had someone kind of give that kind of permission, and I appreciated it so much. So I set out to say, whether I'm teaching students or I'm working with my clients, we got to start off by saying no. And it's really hard to say no. But this book kind of shows you how to do that and how to do it the right way.
I love how you frame that in terms of it giving people permission, because I think you're absolutely right. It's a refreshing reminder and an important frame for this conversation today.
Right.
And it's let's be honest, going to be liberating for a lot of marketers listening. It gives them, again, the permission to say no, which we all know is necessary to do. It's logical. It seems logical, but it's not easy. It's great in theory, but in practice, it's really hard.
It is, and if you don't mind, there's an example I love to use in the classroom that really brings this point home. I'll usually pick on a baseball player, and I'll say something to the point of, "Hey, Sarah, do you swing at every strike?" And if they're a good baseball player in D1, St. Thomas, they're gonna be, they'll say no,
Right.
and you can just look at the reaction by the audience, like, really, and I'll even kind of egg it on. I'm like, really, you'll let a strike go by at the risk of, if you let two more go by, you're gonna have the loneliest walk back to the dugout that you could ever imagine. And I'm like, why don't you swing at every pitch? And they'll go on to say, like, because what's determined as a strike by the league isn't necessarily what my strike is. And I'll even say, hey, what's your pitch? And they might say high and inside. I'm like, so you're gonna let other strikes go by waiting for the high and inside? And I say, what happens when you get the high and inside? He goes, they'll say, like, I hit the snot out of the ball. So the point is, you're gonna let good ones go by because you're waiting for the best one. And that's what essentialism says. Let the good stuff go so that you can say hell yeah to the right stuff. And it's easier said than done. And it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of confidence. But when you do it, it feels so good to say no to things. It's like, the other example is like that when you're breaking up with somebody, and that person will say, are we pausing? And you're like, no, we are breaking. I'm going to let this thing go. And that feel, it hurts to say it,
Yes.
Sarah, but when you walk away and you go like, oh, okay, now I can work on the right thing. And this is people stuff. We haven't talked about marketing yet, right? And that's what I try to teach my students is the human factors are so important here. to make sure we're doing the right things.
So important and such a great metaphor. I love sports metaphors. So great for all the things in life. And as you said, because the human factor is so important.
Is
So, on that note, let's talk about the reality that most chief marketing officers are facing. There's this constant pressure to show up across 6 or more digital channels, right? We got SEO, SEM, social content, email, display, you name it. But you argued, Gino, that to do all 6 is almost never a good idea. And
right.
and why is that?
Why that is I don't think you need all 6 typically. If you really get down to what's the business trying to accomplish and what are the immediate needs, I said the smartest thing you can do is cut channels. And I know you're gonna say, like, "What?" It's like, these are weapons at your disposal. Why would you ever not pick one up? I'm gonna first start off by saying the majority of marketing departments that I've worked in, or even there was some recent research that came out that said less than 10% of marketing organizations have people skilled in all, they call it 6 channels. And I'd argue when you add the traditional channels in there, you're north of 12, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
you don't necessarily have the right skill sets on the bus, and that's a different issue. I would argue that you should make sure your people have they're skilled in the channels you need, and that isn't based on who you have on the team. That should be based on what your target audience needs, right? So, but the point is, you rarely have the luxury of throwing bodies and dollars at all the channels, and I would argue that even more importantly, I don't think you should. I really don't. I mean, if you're a startup company and your goal is to get customers, I don't think you should necessarily use email because email is a great retention strategy if you have
Mm,
customers. But if you don't have customers, how are you going to email customers that you don't have?
right.
So if you're a startup, I would say focus on channels like search and media advertising where you can get in front of someone who hasn't done business with you before to get them interested in you and move them through the conversion funnel. At the same time, if you're an established business, you're a B2B business, you have 31 clients this year, our goal is to have 31 clients next year. It's a retention game and you should play heavy in email. You should play heavy in social, and maybe not. Well, not maybe. I would say not in search and not in media advertising because you don't need those, and put your heartbeats where you need them so that you can hit those things out of the park. So those are just some examples where, and if it's a truly balanced company, you got some hard decisions to make between acquisition and retention. But usually it comes down to, Sarah, which game are we trying? What does winning look like? Are we
Right.
acquisition mode? Are we in retention mode? And if we're in that middle hybrid land, then pick your spots even more carefully.
Yeah. Well, I used this word once already. I'm going to use it again. I think this is liberating, right? This is liberating permission again to choose focus. And I think we're starting to get in a bit deeper in terms of some great advice that you have around how to prioritize your channel selection based on what your goals are. What other advice do you have, Gino, for CMOs and other marketing leaders as they think about channel selection across the funnel?
Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff we just already outlined where it starts with business goals and priorities. And if it's acquisition or retention, pick a horse, and ride that horse. The other one is to break habits. I think there's some research from Deloitte that said that, I don't know, 80% of the tasks we do every day are based on habit. And, we get up in the morning and we check our email and we go to the office and we visit these people in the coffee room and then we did it out and we check our search results and then we check our whatever. It's like, are those the right things that we should do, or are those just the things that we're in a pattern to do? And I would
Right.
argue break those patterns. Here's the analogy that I would use when I work out with my trainer. There are certain machines that if he doesn't come, there are certain machines that I just do in a certain order. And then when he shows up, he's like, "No, we're gonna start over here." I'm like, "I don't like that machine." I'm like, "I don't care whether they like it or not. You need to do it." I'm like, "Ugh." It's like, so these breaking the habit. If you don't believe that you work in a habitual fashion, think about next time you towel off after the shower. Sorry to go there, but everybody has an order in which they towel off out of the shower. On right arm, left arm, right leg, left leg. But and we do it the same way every day. We need these things in our day to break our day and to say, what should I do? And where I'm going to is the desperate need for a digital marketing strategy that says what we should do versus what we could do. It's the should do versus could do.
Yes.
And the difference between should do and could do is a simple word. It's 2 letters long. It's NO. It's no. It goes back to essentialism. It's saying no so that you can say hell yeah. So uh, a strategy, it does just that. It says here's what we're gonna do, not what we could do, and that will break it. If I'm used to doing paid search and our strategy says we're not doing paid search anymore, if somebody doesn't beat me over the head, I'm going to keep doing paid search.
Right.
I know it. I'm comfortable doing it. And it does have results, but it's not the results I want.
Yeah, this is great. Building off of your weightlifting reference there, it's no pain, no gain, right? If you don't have
Right.
muscles in that certain area, right, that channel's going to feel hard to you, and you're probably going to avoid it, just like
Right.
the machine that you're avoiding from a weightlifting standpoint.
Exactly.
And another thing that just really strikes me in terms of the challenges around this is it's not just the number of channels, but it's also about how messy it's all getting,
Yeah.
right? There's a blending of these channels that used to be very distinct, and it just seems like it's harder than ever
Yeah.
to tell what's working and
Yeah.
where. So what advice do you have given that dynamic about
Yeah.
how CMO should really navigate that chaos without losing sight of what matters?
Great point. It's so funny. When I teach every semester, I have to tweak the courses. And when you teach digital marketing, it means, that's in fact what I was doing before this call, and what I'm going to do immediately after it's over. I'm rewriting all my courses for the fall because things are changing. And it's amazing how many times when I say to students, like, and it used to be a lot easier, and now here's the way it is. And they're often like, is there anything that's easier now? And I'm like, I'm not sure. There's more opportunity, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And so, one of my things is to understand what's happening in the channels and to know that it used to be so conveniently clear. If you want awareness, you do media advertising. If you want interest, you do search. If you want consideration, you build some things on your website to help people make good buying decisions. If you want purchase, make sure you're shopping ahead. It was very, very clear. We had these different channels that conveniently lined up to each level of the customer conversion funnel. And now it's just not the case. It's like, for example, media advertising is a great awareness channel, but if you could use it in a retargeted fashion where someone who has put something in your cart or in their cart, and Sarah calls me and I have to go pick her up somewhere, and I come back and I don't make the purchase and it's lost, that little tickler that says, hey, do you still want to buy that? That's media advertising driving conversion, not awareness anymore. You were aware, you were interested, you had it in the cart, life happened. And so media advertising isn't exclusively an awareness channel anymore. It's a powerful conversion channel. And people that media advertising, how could that be? So you have to kind of change your belief in these channels, and even your hero channels. You got to sometimes your hero channels kind of spin out. Like email, the people that kind of banked on that forever. It's like none of my students open email. It's like please don't fall in love with that channel. In certain instances, if your target
Yeah.
audience is young, but I mean, again, older crowd's great. But my point is, you almost have to be channel agnostic, Sarah, where you don't fall in love with these hero channels that have gotten you to the dance because
Mm,
they've changed now and it's a new day. Another example is the mobile channel. Is mobile a channel or is it a platform?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to make in my teaching, I'm considering it more of a platform because the other channels like media, advertising, search, and
And social.
social. Well, when you do them on a phone, is that mobile marketing or is that email on a phone or is that social
Agreed.
on a phone? And more websites are viewed on a phone than on a laptop. So is are websites really like a mobile site? Is it so my point is you have to sort of be loose with how you believe in these channels. And I always say to my students, don't let the cement dry around your feet because you're going to need to move because what got you here might not keep you there. And yeah, another example, we used to poo-poo TV, and it's like now we've got over-the-top television, which it provides some unbelievable media advertising opportunities that is the most relevant and it's the lowest cost, and it's not going to be that way for much longer. It's a temporary thing because most people haven't gotten on board with it, but most people sort of in certain industries have written off that big TV broad,
Mm.
awareness kind of thing. And what you can do from a targeting perspective with over the top TV is powerful because you're showing messages to people not just based on the movies they're watching, but what they search. If they're doing it from their iPad, they've been searching all day on their iPad. They've been checking email. They've been looking at websites. All that can fire off what ads you show them on a television show. So I've had to kind of eat my words a little bit in a lot of places.
Yeah, no, great point. And I don't envy your position as a digital marketing professor, having to stay on top of all this stuff and
Mhm.
rewrite your syllabus, right? To make
Mhm.
sure that you're staying current on all of this.
Yep.
As a teacher,
Yep.
do you have a favorite framework or model that you use to help people decide which channels to prioritize at different stages of the funnel?
Yeah, I do. And that interestingly, along the way, it hasn't changed one bit. The framework is
Mm,
steady. It's like scaffolding. It's just there. And then the things that you hang on it are obviously going to change. But it's a 5-step process. Every student goes through it. I have a digital marketing course I teach, and it's this project is creating a digital marketing strategy for a real business. So they pick a client and they have to go and they take the client through this methodology that I teach them. And it's a 5-stepper, and I'll just hit the high points. The first one and the words are very carefully chosen here, is to confirm business goals and priorities, which means if we're going to make sure that the digital stuff is lined up to make the business successful, not the digital marketing team successful, the business successful, you have to know what the business goals and priorities were. And there were plenty of companies, Sarah, that I worked at where I really didn't know what those were.
I'm not
Either
surprised.
either
I'm
either
not
because
surprised.
I'm not it. I mean, when I ask my students, I'm like, "Which one?" And I go through the 5 steps, like, "Which one would you call elusive?" And no one would ever say, "Confirming business goals and priorities." They think that that's like a syllabus. Everybody's got one. It's like, well, no. And in fact, I can't remember a company that I worked for that that it was widely known in terms of what the business goals and priorities were, down to a measurable revenue. Like, we wanna make more revenue than last year. Is that $1 more? Or is it $1,000,000 more? Is it 100,000,000? It's like, I go to the gym, I wanna lose weight. Is that a pound? Is it 30 pounds? It makes a big difference, right?
Thank you.
So that's the first step, is confirming business goals and priorities, and the priorities usually are around acquisition versus retention. So once you lock that down, um, and I use the word confirm on purpose, Sarah, because I don't want the digital marketing people to make up what they think the business goals, and confirm means go find out what it
Great
is.
point.
Somebody's done the work. When I was at Radisson, not good, but we made up our own business goals and priorities. We thought all we want to do is try to sell hotel rooms on the internet. Like, who would argue with that? But when you're selling hotel rooms through not the best of websites like cheaphotels.com or discounthotels.com, you're like, "A room's a room. I just wanna sell that,
Sure.
and that's $100 of revenue per night." And you're like, "You're hurting the brand, Gino." I'm like, "I'm making money for the brand." Like, "You're killing us, man. You're killing our brand." And I'm just like, "What is the goal?" And they're like, "To clean up our brand, to improve its position in the marketplace, to get a higher perception so we could raise our rates." And I'm like, "Oh." So like, "How'd I miss this?" I missed it because I never asked.
Sure.
I
I
should have.
appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate you sharing. We all make mistakes, right? I appreciate you
Oh my
sharing
gosh,
that.
one of many times I'm like, "Should I pack my office before lunch or after?" I mean, but my point, okay, so it starts there. The second step of 5 is to, um, consider all channels. And you might think, "Well, duh." I'm like, a lot of times companies rule out channel. It's like, "Well, we're not gonna do email because we don't have anybody that knows how to do it. And we're not gonna do paid search because we don't have anybody that knows how to do it." Like, you're gonna consider them all. They might not all make the cut,
Sure.
but consider them all initially, especially how they line up with the business goals and priorities. And if they make the cut, they'd go freaking hire somebody that knows those skills and don't not use that channel because someone doesn't.
Yes. Well,
Sorry, I'm getting excited here a little bit, Sarah, on you, but
no, it's hey, I can tell you're a great professor. I would sit in
thank
your
you.
class all day long. You got the
Thank you.
energy and the passion. A
Thank
lot
you.
of
Yeah,
learning to
I usually have to bring a change of shirts because I'm sweating, but so we consider them all initially, and then the next step is to brainstorm. what could be offered for under each channel that aligns to the business priorities to achieve the goal. And that's an easy one. That's brainstorming, right? The fourth step, which is the painful step, is prioritization.
Yeah.
This is where the essentialism comes in. This is where um, we brainstormed every idea is a good idea, but tomorrow we're making hard decisions. And prioritization is where we say no to at least 3/4 or 2/3 of the ideas, so that the only thing that's left is the fastball down the middle that I want to hit. Okay, that's my pitch, right? So, and this is I teach them a method of looking at impact versus burden of every opportunity. Because if you just pick the opportunities that are going to bring the highest impact, they might bury your business in terms of years to market, cost, might burn your people out. So I look at the sweet spot between the impact of doing that opportunity versus the burden of achieving it. And obviously, you're gonna pick the high impact, low burden stuff, duh, but you're also gonna unfortunately have to dabble in some of that high impact, high burden. Burden could be cost, it could be complexity, it could be contingency, it could be skill set, all that stuff. And you have a nice balance of cherry picking high impact, low burden with high impact, uh, maybe higher burden. Most of the good stuff is gonna take some work. No pain, no gain. You said it earlier, right?
Yep.
But stay the hell out of the bottom quadrants that are the low impact, low burden, or the low impact, high burden. It's funny.
Absolutely.
You could say, yeah, who would ever do low impact, high burden? You're right. Not many people do. But you know what? A really popular quadrant is that lower left where it's low impact, low burden. It's busy work, Sarah. It's stuff
Yeah.
that it's like, it's that I've used macros to build this report that nobody reads. It's like, it's
Yep.
really easy to generate the report. Nobody cares. It's like, it's low burden and it's low impact because nobody cares. And
Yep.
stop doing that. And when you free up that oxygen, just cutting everything kind of below that. And I wish I could draw you that little quadrant, but imagine a four boxer with impact on the y-axis and burden on the horizontal axis. But
Yep.
that just you get rid of that. And now what you might find is, hey, after we made all those cuts, we only really have 2 mobile things and we've got 30 email things. It's like, maybe we should cut mobile and move that mobile resource over to help the email resource and not just keep doing mobile. Man, that person might have 2 things to do all year. That doesn't make any sense. So that's where you could potentially cut a channel and be able to justify it to the 15th floor when they go, I heard a rumor that we're not doing any more. And you're like, yeah, because here's all the opportunities that we brainstormed and here's how they scored impacted burden. And there were better ones and we chose the better ones.
Yeah.
And who made those scoring decisions? Your CMO scored impact and your CIO scored burden. Talk to them. And
Absolutely.
anyway, you get through this painful say no thing, and then what's left becomes your marketing plan. Whatever.
So
There's-
number 5 in the framework, is that
Yep.
is that execution then, or
No, yeah,
or
I call it creating the digital marketing plan that says,
got
here's
it.
what we're gonna do.
Plan.
Every row is a thing we're gonna do, and a column is the month or the different month,
Got it.
and we show when the work is gonna happen and when the actual thing is gonna launch and how long is it live. And the example I use with my students, Sarah, is I say, every day around 3 o'clock, I start getting texts from my 3 boys that say, "What's the dinner strategy?" And all they want to know, Sarah, is what are we having for dinner? And one will say, "I think we should go to Punch Pizza." The other will say, "I think we should go to Chick-fil-A." And the other will say, "I want to go to D'Amico." And then they start, rolling around and say, well, we went to D'Amico last time. I got a coupon. And we just start this chatter. Meanwhile, my wife would always want to cook a meal at home. I'm like, okay, so here's the point. Nobody eats until we make a decision. And
Right.
companies spend the first quarter just swirling about all that they could do. And by the time they make those hard decisions of the should do versus the could do, they burned a quarter.
Yep. See
So
it all the time. See it all the time.
No, yeah, and once like, "Hey, let's cook a meal at home," then you go, "Okay, Sarah, you're gonna clean the kitchen at 4. We're gonna eat at 6, so let's back in. Someone's gonna clean the kitchen at 4:30. Someone's gonna go to the grocery store. While you're going to the grocery store, someone's gonna start boiling the water. While you're shucking the corn, someone's gonna set the dish." It's like, that's not hard to do the dinner plan once you know whether you're eating in or going out. That's the step 4 is the killer. I mean, we're just gonna keep spitting and everybody wants to make a case for their things, and all of a sudden it's dinner time and nobody's eating.
Yeah, absolutely. Gino, I know you have more real world examples, right? You talked about the Radisson one more
Yeah,
don't do this perspective. Let's talk about some more on the what worked well side of things. Whether you want to share company names or not, I know you've got a lot of great examples.
sure.
What does this look like in action, and how's it worked out for other people?
Sure. I can speak on behalf of I work as a consultant for Caribou Coffee for gosh, 8 or 10 years, right? And in that tenure, if you will, we figured out our digital marketing strategy. And for a brand like Caribou, first of all, coffee is the most consumed product in the world by humans, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's everywhere. And people at this point kind of have their favorites. Like some people love Caribou, some people love Starbucks, and and there's a growing contingency around Dunkin' and all those other ones. The point with Caribou was people have pretty much made up their mind. And so I'm not sure how many people Caribou is really going to steal from Starbucks. And that would be I call it an acquisition strategy. So
Right.
like Caribou, we focused on retention.
Attention.
And we had a loyal, rabidly loyal base, Sarah. And if we could just get that base of customers to do one of two things or both. One is to come in more often. On average, they come in, let's say, this isn't the real number, but let's just say the number is once a week. They drink coffee more than once a week.
Right.
They're
Yep.
going somewhere else. If I could get all the existing Caribou Coffee customers to come in twice a week versus once a week, we will double revenue. Just
Absolutely.
just everything else being equal, okay? The other one is if we can get them when they come in to spend twice as much. Okay, so maybe they get a
Yep.
bakery item, or maybe they get a wild drink, or maybe they get a large versus a small. If I can increase, we call that ticket. If we can increase the ticket by 2x, we will double revenue by 2x. If I can then increase visit frequency and ticket, I 4x revenue.
Yep.
Tell me another thing that's going to 4x revenue.
Right.
And so you think like, line up the cannons. Let's go after getting the existing people that we know that love us. We don't have to make them aware. We don't have to make them interested. We just have to get them to buy more often and spend more when they do. So we would be using email and texting and social.
Love it.
100%. Okay. But let's switch gears. Have you ever heard of I think it's called Wildfire Coffee? It's a
I have not.
it's a brand. Hold on, let me look at my notes real quick. They're called Wild Wild Flyer, and what they do is they provide people who are homeless with a job to make coffee for people. So there's a huge missional component.
Yep.
Brand new, best kept secret in the world because it's like, wouldn't it feel great if you got your coffee from somebody who is homeless and needs the revenue to be able to not be homeless? And the problem is nobody's heard of them. So their strategy shouldn't have anything to do with email and social because they have no fans because nobody knows them. They have no email opt-ins into their email database because no one's there. So hammer down on search, hammer down on media, right? Build those channels out to get some customers. And then in year 2, 3, 4, start working those retention strategies. So there's an example of two different companies. One's playing the retention game, one's playing the acquisition game, which means they're down to 2, 3 channels at most, which is definitely doable.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. Great examples. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
Um, on this show, we talk a lot about disruption that healthcare marketers are trying to drive, whether it's changing behavior, breaking down stigma,
Yep.
pushing the industry forward. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about using digital to fuel meaningful change. And I've heard you say that some things deserve to be even bigger than they are,
Yeah.
and that digital marketing can help make that happen.
Yeah.
So, for our listeners who are leading those initiatives, campaigns to truly change things for the better, how would you use digital to accelerate that movement?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. And a tough question too. I can think of three things that come to mind and one is a little bit, it's a leap, but we're always searching for that viral campaign that
Mm.
just catches fire on social. I mean, we just saw it with the Coldplay video. In that case,
Right.
it's a hot one. It's a negative one. But if you could imagine, let's go to a different one, like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Okay.
Yep.
So my former wife, my late wife, had ALS. Okay. And I just remember thinking, like, there's no research, there's no money. It's not a disease that can't be solved. It's a disease that only 1 in 50,000 people have it. Most people don't know about it, so there's no money,
Right.
right? But they're still living off of the money that they made from the ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, it's
And you
unbelievable.
can you those poor marketing people every day are like, "How do we do ice bucket 2.0? How do we do ice bucket 3.0?" The problem is there's no answer. There's no secret weapon on viral. It's so organic and so unpredictable. And those guys, trust me, I know the ALS folks in the DC. They have tried to rack their brain and recreate it. So I don't want to throw out a pipe dream and do, well, just come out with something that's great.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, don't ignore it. I mean, you never know. You might just get one, right? So it's one hit wonder kind of things. So that's one. I'll park that to the side. In a more practical construct, I mean, you could look to some of the existing channels and go, are we really taking advantage of everything they have to offer? And one that comes to mind, Sarah, is in social media. And it's so funny because so many of my students, when I say, raise your hand if you have an internship, 2/3 will raise their hand. And I'll say, how many of you are doing digital marketing? And the majority of those people are doing digital marketing. So that's where a lot of the digital marketing internships are happening. Or sorry, the internships are happening in digital. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, I'm just doing social, and I post 3 times a week, and I try to knock out these posts. I'm like, what are you writing about? They're like, just whatever comes to mind. I'm like, back to what are the business goals and priorities? They probably don't know. But regardless of that, there is a weapon that's available in social, both on Facebook and Instagram for B2C and LinkedIn for B2B. And that is creating custom audiences where you can say, I want to create an audience specific to a post. Okay.
Yep.
That the post will resonate with that audience. I don't care if it doesn't resonate with an audience that it's not relevant. Okay. I don't even want to pay for those impressions.
Right.
But you can create an audience of people of a certain age, in a certain location, with certain interests and all those kinds of things. And then you throw your posts at those people. Or more importantly, you can create custom audiences from people that should be following you that aren't. In other words, you can create a custom audience based on people that have been to your website in the last 10 days. Now they're not following you, so technically you can't reach them organically, but you can still reach them. They're still a warm lead. You might have to pay to reach them, but it would be a good person to reach because they've been to your site, or they've opted into your email, or they've downloaded your app, or they've interacted with your posts. Like, you can create custom audiences around these groups, people that have bought from you before. At Caribou, everyone that's bought decaf, I wanna create an audience of just those. So we have this new decaf product, or a new Rainforest Alliance thing. If whatever their interests are, we're gonna hammer them with those things. We shouldn't limit it to just the people that follow us, because think about all the brands you love, Sarah, that you're not following.
Right.
Mm,
Absolutely.
Taco Bell, I love that brand, and I don't follow them. There's no reason for it, but I just don't. It's like human nature. But if they were smart, they could create a custom audience around me because I've been to their site and I've been to their app and all that. Anyway, that's one thing. And that's a good retention play, because I'm going to assume those people, if they've been to your site, they've bought from you before, they're
Right.
in your email marketing program, they're in your loyalty program, that you're an existing customer. The other one, though, that I think is the low hanging fruit that I haven't talked to any of my interns that are even know what it is, and that is lookalike audiences, which are
Mm.
people who look and behave like people who follow me.
Yes.
So, like, I could create a custom audience of people that have been to my website or people that have bought from me before. Great. I can create a lookalike audience which are people who haven't done those things, but behave like people who have. And that's an acquisition play. And I'm like, social for acquisition? I mean,
Right.
it's and I don't hear anybody doing it. And the same thing holds true for LinkedIn. If it's a B2B marketplace and not B2C, they just have different names. I think the custom audiences on LinkedIn are called matched audiences, and the lookalike audiences are called predictive audience. So it's kind of like tier two social, but so many people are obsessed with just posting X times per week.
Right. And if you're only staying in that organic play, like that, just it's not going to do much for you.
Yeah, on average, I think, like, of your followers, you put out a post, only less than 7% see it.
Yeah.
And
It's the
so
algorithms have really, really changed.
yeah, because they'll show it to a couple people, and if they love it, they'll show it to a lot. But if it's not that great of a post, they're gonna shut it off like a spigot. And
Yeah.
and you're kinda hosed unless you start throwing some money behind it. And I'd say throw some money behind it, and particularly if it's a good post that's done well with a small group of people, let more people see it, even if you have to pay.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's one. And then I have a third if there's time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The third one is something I referred to earlier, which is that over the top television stuff, which is
Mhm.
just channel for digital marketers that's often we associate with that old RCA television that our parents have in the living room that's got the rabbit ears on it. I mean, what I'm talking about is all the shows that you can watch on your laptop, on your iPad, on your desktop, or on a Roku TV.
Yeah,
All streaming.
streaming. Yep.
There's tons of inventory available to advertise for these health companies or whoever was trying to get to break through. The point is there's tons of inventory, which means you can get really good reach. And because there's tons of inventory, the cost per touch is low. So low touch,
Yes.
low cost per touch,
Right.
high reach, and relevance can be high because again, when you're on your iPad today, you've been searching for stuff all day. You've been clicking on things on websites. You've been in your Amazon. You've been looking at Google, and now you're watching you know Yellowstone. And now when you're seeing the ads, they're triggering off of, but not only that you're the kind of person that watches Yellowstone or Shrinking or whatever, but all the other stuff you did today.
Yeah.
So it's hyper
So great.
targeted. So you add the combo hyper targeted, which means mass relevance, mass inventory, which means mass reach at low cost. And it won't be that way much longer because people like us are talking about it.
Right. Yeah,
And
get on it quick.
yeah, I mean, and it was funny. I was slow to go there. I had a friend who kept telling me like, Gino, what the hell are you doing with OTT? Or is that a channel yet? I'm like, no, TV. I figured they cover it in the other. Like, I'm not talking about TV. I'm talking about over the top television, streaming television.
Yeah,
I found
smart.
that. Yeah,
Great advice.
thank you.
So before we end here, Gino, and I can't believe how time flew on this and so much great advice. I suspect people are going to want to get in touch with you and talk to you more because there's so much great advice. But how do you stay current on digital? How do you stay plugged in? What do you do?
Yeah. So one of the things as a teacher, this is the curse. I'm a lifelong learner, so I love to learn. But if I just taught, I would never learn. I feel like I get, you go to bed smart, you wake up dumb. It's like through the semester, I don't learn much, right? But when I get off and I have January's off, I have summers off, I just dive in, and I have my own consulting business. I've been doing
Nice.
miles for almost 20 years now. And so I have active clients, and I just throw myself into any work I could do on digital to do it with my own hands. And everyone's like, don't you want to have a lackey that can do that stuff for you? And don't you want, it seems like it's pretty basic stuff. I'm like, I want to touch every part of the engine. I want to touch every part of the car. So I do it for a living. Right. And I have a variety of different resources that I just tap into around the country for the latest trends. I look at e-marketing. I looked at like Dan, I'm in some groups there, but I mostly get it through a network of people that do the same thing I do. And the fact that Minnesota Sports and Events just lets me play and they pay me to play and try new things and get your hands wet and don't ever think anything's beneath you. Here I am, I'm the oldest guy there and I'm doing all the work that they think interns should do. I'm like, I wanna know it. I wanna know it. That's the only way to teach it. So do.
Love that.
They say, what is it? Those who do teach, or those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach Jim. I'm like, those who can do, I think we should we should work, and those who could do more should teach. Teach others how to do. Right?
I love that. That's so great.
But yeah, I wish I had the secret weapon. I mean, there's a couple podcasts that I follow, but a lot of them have to do with the human factor, the Simon Sinek's of the world,
100%.
and the Mel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's the biggest issue. I think is not the digital marketing isn't the hard part. It's changing the mind.
Yep. I agree. Such great advice. This has been a really amazing conversation today. Thank you for reminding all of us that no can be one of the most powerful tools in a CMO's playbook. And I'm going to tell our audience if they want to hear more from Gino, because I'm sure you do, check out his podcast, In the Key of D. A lot of great insights on digital transformation. How else can folks get in touch with you, Gino?
Probably LinkedIn is probably the best way. So it's Gino Giovannelli. I'm sure if you have program notes, they'll be in there.
Yep, we'll put that in the show notes for sure.
That would be great. Yep, that'd probably be the best way to do it.
Thanks so much. This has been a real pleasure.
You're welcome. Sarah, thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
All right.
And thanks to all of you for joining the Health Marketing Collective, where strong leadership meets marketing excellence, because the future of healthcare depends on it. We'll see you next time.